The Ryan and Ryan Power Hour podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to Ryan and Ryan here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
All right, there has been some new NBA news as star Kevin Durant has been removed from activities. He is being shut down for the rest of the season. There was a quote from the general manager, Sam Presti, that said, quote, "He's not making the progress we'd hoped or expected." So that's bad news for the Thunder as they are fighting for at least an 8 seed in the West. And they have 3 players now who are hurt, 3 key players, too. So that's not a good thing.
Yeah, I don't like Durant, and I don't like the Thunder. So I just don't like him.
I mean,
it's horrible that he's out for the season. Except I hope the Thunder miss the playoffs.
Currently, they have a 1-game lead over New Orleans for the 8th seed.
Yeah, that could vanish pretty quickly without Durant, Ibaka, and Kanter.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And it looks like Phoenix is a game and a half behind New Orleans, so they have even more ground to cover. They're on a 2-game winning streak, so that helps. But it looks like New Orleans will probably overtake Oklahoma City for this 8th seed.
As long as Anthony Davis can remain healthy. He missed the game last night.
Yeah, he's been kind of up and down this season, too, as far as injuries.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably hurting him getting the MVP because he keeps injuring his shoulder, his foot. They lost to the Suns by 2 points yesterday. That's really a shame.
Yeah, that's not good. So just a little background on what Durant went through this year. He underwent surgery February 23rd to attempt to alleviate soreness and discomfort in his right foot that was being caused by a screw inserted in October during a procedure to repair a Jones fracture. I'm not quite sure what a Jones fracture is, but it has something to do with the right foot. So after the second procedure, Durant was reevaluated and then reevaluated again after another week, at which point Coach Scott Brooks, who is not a good coach, by the way, updated the player's timetable to a week or two, and then they sort of went from there, and now he's being shut down for the rest of the season, which is very
about a month ago, they said that he's going to be out for 1 to 2 weeks.
Right, and then now it just kept progressing. It kind of feels like the Derrick Rose injury thing, where the timetable is never right.
Yeah, really, the timetable, whatever the timetable is, double it.
Right.
And then maybe it'll be right.
Well, or they'll give you a timetable and you'll come back way before you need to, which Derrick Rose is prone to doing as well.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think this is as bad as that Derrick Rose one with the year after he won the MVP, when every game he was a game time decision.
God, that was so annoying.
Oh my God, game time! Like when you just heard he's a game time decision, you automatically knew he was out.
Right. It's just I mean, there's been tons of injuries. I mean, everyone talks about injuries in football and baseball. I mean, in basketball, there's been just as many as every.
I'm starting to wonder why the NBA is having these are like football injuries. If you remember the All-Star game, how many guys dropped out because of an injury? I mean, there was so many that it was reminding me of the Pro Bowl.
Right, and talking about the All-Star game, that's when Jimmy Butler, he ended up playing, but he didn't play in that skills competition that he was supposed to play.
Yeah, no, Jimmy Butler, instead of trying to help his team beat Cleveland before the All-Star break, he decided to miss that game so he could play in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool to see him in the All-Star game, but I mean, we did have a starter in Pau Gasol, so I mean, we didn't necessarily.
Yeah, we didn't need Jimmy Butler. We needed him to play against Cleveland in the 3 games before that he missed.
Yeah, so Durant is out, and that's not good news, obviously for the Thunder, and it's not good news for Scott Brooks. I don't know what his job security is. I don't know if they like him or anything, but I mean, he's not a very good coach.
I never thought he was that great.
No, a lot of people, most people think he's a pretty bad coach who's coaching, 2 really good players.
I think that at times it seems like he's coaching 2 different teams. Like he's coaching Westbrook's team, and then he's coaching Durant's team. And then it's just he doesn't really seem like he has full control of all his players on the court. And, I mean, he makes some... Like, I remember there was one... I was at the Bulls game last year when they played Oklahoma City. It was Joakim Noah bobblehead day, which was why I was there.
Of course.
Yeah. I actually counted my bobbleheads the other day. I have over 50.
Oh, over 50? Wow.
Over 50, and they take up more space in my closet than clothes do.
I have maybe not even 20, I don't think, but I have maybe 12, 15. I'm not sure how many bobbleheads I have.
Well, all right, going back to Scott Brooks, he makes some just awful decisions when to call a timeout. Like, there was one time the Thunder were on, like, they were on, like a 12-2 run, and he called a timeout.
Like, he sort of kills the momentum.
He kills his own team's momentum, calling it. He calls ill-advised timeouts. He doesn't really handle them very well. I know he doesn't handle minutes very well because I see Durant and Westbrook are always playing 40 minutes.
No, I agree with you there.
And he's not really good at developing young power forwards and centers. Like, how many rebounders do they have that they've been drafted and developed by them? Because Ibaka's not like a great rebounder. He ever just like only 7 or 8, and he's been their leading rebounder.
Yeah, that's true. And also, in other news, staying with the Western Conference anyway, the Lakers lost last night by 7 to Utah, but that's not the main story here. The main story is the Lakers, the prized team in the NBA for so long, have reached the 50-loss mark for the second straight season and only for the 5th time in the franchise's 67-year history.
Well, maybe if they had a good coach, that would be different.
Like everyone in LA, they either love their Dodgers or their Lakers. Those are pretty much the two main teams. And when you see the Lakers being like one of the worst teams in the Western Conference, right behind Minnesota and some other teams,
it gives the Kings more bandwagon fans.
Oh man, yeah, it gives the Kings. Well, it gives Los Angeles. It gives the other team in LA a lot of bandwagon fans too, which I'm sure they've had ever since.
Yeah, I mean,
the Clippers have been good since like 2012.
How many of those people actually know something about hockey? Probably none of them.
That's the thing. I mean, they'll tell you that they love the Kings. I don't know if they'd be able to tell you any of the players.
I'd say name 5 players and don't say Jonathan Quick.
Right. Even I can't name 5 players on the Kings.
Yeah.
But that's partly because I don't really follow hockey. I don't really follow hockey outside of
the Blackhawks.
Yeah, outside of the Hawks and some of the other teams.
I could probably name almost
Hawks
their entire
division.
roster.
But it's crazy because like LA is a basketball and baseball town as far as the Dodgers. I mean,
they may be getting a football team.
They may be getting a football team, but it's
which
just
could benefit the Bears.
They must be pissed that the Lakers are this bad. Like the Lakers are like the
once
NBA.
Phil Jackson retired, it was awful downhill. The team when after Phil Jackson left, that team wasn't bad. It was just awful coaching. Mike Brown and Mike D'Antoni. I mean, there's a reason Mike D'Antoni was fired from the Knicks, and there's a reason Mike Brown was fired by the Cavaliers.
Right.
I mean, and Pau Gasol coming off of the bench. Think about how that must have hurt his ego. For Earl Clark.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
Pau Gasol on the bench instead. Earl Clark is starting. Come on, Mike D'Antoni, and there's coach this year's Byron Scott, right?
Yeah,
and he was fired by Cleveland last year.
Right. So
they keep getting all these fired Cavaliers coaches.
Yeah. Staying with the Western Conference, as we're just going over some news and notes in the NBA right now. James Harden scored 50 points again. He's making a strong case for MVP. I still think it's either going to be Westbrook or Curry, but James Harden is right up there with those guys.
One thing that's helping James Harden is Dwight Howard missing a lot of game action and Trevor Ariza forgetting how to shoot the ball.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because he's doing a lot of work now.
Yeah, Ariza set the NBA record for consecutive games of shooting under 50% from the field.
Yeah, it's I think it's interesting because I never hated James Harden, but I've never been a huge fan.
I thought he was overrated. Did you see how many free throws he shot yesterday?
No, I didn't see.
He was 22 of 25 from the free throw line.
Yeah, that's the thing. He really knows how to drive the lane and get fouled. He gets fouled every time he drives to the lane.
I will admit, he is fantastic at drawing fouls, except his shooting percentage isn't that great. I mean, most of his points come off of free throws. I mean, 22 points off of free throws, that's almost half of his 50.
Right, and, I mean, they weren't playing a great team.
And he plays horrible defense.
But, yeah, he still has to learn how to play defense. He's definitely improved since when he was on Oklahoma City, for instance.
I'm sure if Tom Thibodeau was the coach, he wouldn't be playing if he couldn't play defense.
Wouldn't that be funny if Tom Thibodeau benched James Harden? I mean,
I don't care if you're
could you imagine the uproar that would cause?
Yeah.
Oh, that would not be good. He's currently this year he's averaging 27.1 points per game, 7 assists, almost 2 steals a game. And he's averaging just under 37 minutes.
That's pretty good. I mean, his free throw percentage, I think, is in between 85 and 87%.
Yeah,
I mean, he shoots a lot of free throws.
Oh, he does, and you gotta. And I mean, if you're one of those guys that gets fouled all the time, you have to make sure that you're making your free throws. He certainly has.
Yeah, and I remember people thought that Houston overpaid when they traded for James Harden.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's looking like the Thunder sold low on him.
You pretty much have. I'm not sure among experts if he's leading the MVP talks right now. I think it's more Steph Curry, but what
hurts Westbrook's chances is the fact that they're probably not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't make the playoffs, you really shouldn't win MVP. Most of the time, I mean, your team's competitive
unless you're Andre Dawson.
Right, Andre Dawson for the Cubs in '87. That's right.
On a last place team.
Yeah.
Although. This is actually going off of, you probably don't know much about with soccer. 2 years ago when the Fire player Mike McGee won the MVP, they missed the playoffs by 1 point.
Yeah, I think you told me that a couple weeks ago. That's pretty
interesting. The reason he was the MVP was because they were dead last in the league when they traded for him.
Okay.
And they were dead last in goals scored. They were averaging maybe 0.4 goals per game, which they were getting shut out almost every game, and they trade for him, and then all of a sudden they start scoring goals. I mean, I don't know how many games he played for them, except, he ended up scoring 21 goals.
Right.
And not even a full season.
That's remarkable. I mean,
it is. That's the reason. If they had made the playoffs, it would have been because of him. And, that's what, the MVP is the best player in the league. And even, teammates, the team he was traded from, which was Los Angeles, everyone on that team said he's the league MVP. I mean, he single-handedly almost took a bad team to the playoffs.
Wow. Looking at the Western Conference of the NBA, the Golden State still is holding on to that number 1 seed. They have a 7.5 game lead in the West. I mean, in the competitive West.
In the West or just their division?
In the Western Conference, they have a 7.5 game lead over Memphis.
Memphis is number 2?
Memphis is number 2, a game ahead of Houston, which is at number 3. And they're a game ahead of Portland, which is number 4. And then a couple games behind Portland are the Clippers at 5, tied with Dallas pretty much. So
yeah, that lead could go down maybe 5 or 4 games since Klay Thompson's out.
Right.
Yeah. That is remarkable.
I know Steph Curry can do well on his own, but I don't
can.
know. If you're facing a team like Memphis or Houston, it'll be tough to beat them without Klay
If you're playing
Thompson.
A lot of good teams, it might go down a little. Now, the interesting thing is they're still 29-2 at home. I don't know who the other one was against, except the Bulls beat them in overtime on that Derrick Rose shot.
The Bulls beat them for that second loss. The first loss was way early in the season, within the first few weeks. So
because I know they were on a 19-game home winning streak when Rose hit that shot to beat them.
Right, they're 11-3 in their division. That's put them head and shoulders above the rest of that. Is that the Pacific Division? I think it's the Pacific Division with
I don't think
with Sacramento and Portland and the Lakers. I think they're all in the same division.
Where's Portland at? They must have really fallen off since the Wesley Matthews injury.
They are at 4 right now. They are 9.5 away from Golden State, but they're only 2 games out of second. So it's a tight race between second, third, and fourth right now. They're all separated between a game.
Where would Portland be in the Eastern Conference?
Okay, let's see. 44-22. If you look, they would be number 2 in the conference because they have they have the same amount of wins as Cleveland, but they have 2 less losses right now.
So, yeah, they'd probably be in first by the end of the season. Yeah. I mean, I know the Wesley Matthews injury really hurts them.
And currently in the Eastern Conference, and that was a good transition that you did, Ryan Risky, without even knowing it, but in the Eastern Conference, Atlanta has clinched a playoff berth, as we know, but they